Ladies and gentlemen, you are now looking at the single most important thing in the Final Destination franchise. I'm being 100% dead ass serious. This is the most important object. This penny right here, this is the single most important thing in this franchise. Now onto the review. Hello and welcome to this week's movie review, where I'll be discussing 2025's Final Destination Bloodline. If you've been keeping up with the channel, last week I went through all the movies, all 5 of them, Monday through Friday, which was, I ain't gonna lie, that shit got a little tough because I had to record it and edit it like right after, which got a little difficult, but we are here now. I saw the movie Saturday. I had a couple days to think about it. Not that I needed to really think about it because I kind of already had my opinion once I left the theater, but I do want to talk about it. This is a newer movie, so I do want to kind of give my overall thoughts before I get into spoiler territory. So general thoughts, first impressions. I thought it was really fun. Honestly, I think this is a really fun movie. It's in theaters right now. Like I said, if you have a date you're trying to go with, or a family or a friend, group that you want to check this movie out, I think it's a perfect movie to see with someone. Also, the best looking by far. This is the best looking Final Destination ever. I'd say this and 3 are like the two that I'm like, all right, this looks super, super nice. Like very, very clear, crystal. Everything's nice. Newer cameras, obviously newer technology that the older installments may not have had or might have had and just didn't put to use. But yeah, I had a really good time in this movie. I did not see any trailers. I saw the one teaser of Homeboy and the Tattoo Parlor. And that's about it. And even then, that wasn't out of my own curiosity. I would just go to movies. Like when I saw Sinners, they had the preview there. And I think when I saw Captain America, the newer one that came out this year, they also had a preview, and it was like the kind of like 2-3 minute trailer of him like kind of getting messed up in the tattoo shop. That being said, I do want to get into some spoiler territory. So if you have not seen Final Destination Bloodlines or you don't care, continue watching the video. If you do care, then I would say click off and then come back whenever you're done. But yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so the movie opens up with Iris and Paul as they are headed to this sky tower, which honestly I thought was a Seattle Needle, not gonna lie to you. I don't think it is. I think it's just a general like restaurant that they had for the movie. Things quickly take a turn when Iris sees a premonition of the building collapsing, the glass floor breaking from underneath, a piano takes someone out so like violently, like out of nowhere, which is pretty nuts. Yeah, she has a premonition about all these bad things happening at the party, and then she kind of tells Paul, yo, we gotta get out of here. Kind of feel bad for Paul because he totally like proposed to her, and then like she just never answers him the second time, and just like, yo, we gotta go because like shit's not gonna go good. I will say this, I do enjoy the twist that they made that Stephanie, our main character in the movie, is kind of having this dream of her premonition. Which, like I said, one of the things I have in this franchise that I'm kind of like with is like the lack of explanation. I feel like this movie kind of did a good job of like exposition and explaining things here and there, and kind of giving people who maybe aren't familiar with the franchise kind of like the rule book, if there is a rule book to this. I gotta say, when it comes to the cast, I kind of enjoyed everyone very much equally. I think Stephanie did stand out into some in certain dramatic scenes. I just like the fact that no one was like overly campy. No one was overly silly. No one was really overly like, I don't know. Like I said, with my complaints of the other movies were kind of this of them reminding me of like television movies or like TV acting or commercial acting, even like in certain cases. The Final Destination, I'm looking at you. But yeah, there was none of that here. Everyone kind of like carried themselves well. Everyone seemed pretty unique. I would never say there was a character that kind of like reminded me of the other. They all kind of seemed like a normal, regular, degular family. So in the clip that we've seen, he's kind of at the tattoo shop. And I'll be honest with you, at first I was kind of like, what is up with this guy? He kind of seemed like a little sad sack. And I was like, why is he like being so like cheesy with like, he tattoos dad on his arm? And I'm kind of like, eh. But honestly, like whenever the way his dad went out, it's totally justifiable why he felt that way. Because that shit was brutal. But yeah, this whole time I was thinking like, man, I hope that death isn't in the movie, because we kind of seen it already. We kind of seen this calamity of like things going wrong at the tattoo shop. Things get lit on fire. His nose gets stuck in the fan. And I was like, man, hopefully like we're not gonna just watch the same thing when we go in the theater. And thankfully we didn't. I mean, you kind of did, because the scene is still there, but Eric does not die in that scene. And we actually see him the next day and kind of walking around and kind of telling Stephanie like why he's been ignoring her calls. I love that addition to it. It kind of totally switches things around. And it kind of, as a viewer who's been like watching the franchise and watching trailers and stuff, and as a viewer who's been going through the franchise recently, because I just seen all of these, like I said last week, I do enjoy the fact that I could still be surprised with certain things, especially like a newer movie like this. I enjoyed that a lot. I enjoyed that like they didn't really like trick you. People always talking about like in Avengers trailers, you see the Hulk running around Wakanda, and that doesn't happen. He's in like the Hulkbuster armor in the actual like Infinity War, which I don't really mind too much, to be honest with you. Like, I feel like trailers give a lot away, especially newer trailers now. They give like a lot of stuff away. If I see a trailer like over 3 minutes, I'm just kind of like, man, I don't know how this is gonna go. Next thing I want to discuss is my man Tony Todd, who I don't know if this is his final appearance. He unfortunately had passed away, I believe, last year. He makes an appearance here again as the same character as Death. And we totally see his origin story. So in the premonition with Iris, in the premonition that Iris has in the beginning, there's a small child there, and we later know that that child is Death, or Tony Todd's character. Fantastic, fantastic seeing him again. And the line he gives at the end, his last scene, when he's kind of saying that, like, we started this, or like that penny, or I mean, it's a penny now because it's a meme. But like, that day started all these events happening, that we've seen so far in the franchise. And that he's kind of like accepting death at this point and being like, all right, now that Iris is dead, which is wild, by the way, the way she got taken out. But now that she's dead, I'm next. I'll be the last one. Insane thing. I just never thought that would be Tony Todd's character, but it kind of makes sense because like the flashback or premonition or whatever that took place like back in the 50s, I think 60s maybe. So he was a small child at that point. But yeah, I love the last line that Tony has, which was apparently improvised. I've been seeing posts on Twitter that the director came out and said that was completely improvised by Tony Todd. Him just saying how like death could come at any time, that like the thing is to enjoy life as much as we can while we're here. Eerie knowing that he filmed this before he died. Crazy. A tribute to a really interesting character, and a tribute to really, I mean, one of the best horror actors of all time. I love Candyman so much. So shout out to Tony Todd, rest in peace. And I think that was a beautiful tribute that they did. Okay, so I mentioned him earlier, Eric. His death was actually insane because it was him and his brother, and they're kind of at the hospital at this point. They kind of revealed, the information gets revealed that like someone could die and then come back to life, and that's how they cheat death. That's how Kimberly, I believe is her name from the second movie, is still alive. So which got confirmed. Which is weird because they didn't confirm that the security or cop that she's with at the end of the movie is alive or not. They just mentioned Kimberly. So I'm curious, I'm curious if like he ended up getting killed later on, like an Alex situation, or what that was about. But yeah, we know that she's still alive, which I'm sure she's gonna come back in the next movie. But anyway, yeah, it's him and his brother. His brother has a peanut allergy, which it seems like he has like a deadly allergy. So he eats a Reese's cup, which I thought was pretty funny. Because he's like, man, it's delicious. And then he's like, you don't feel anything? But yeah, that happens. And then the MRI machine, which is super magnetic. This is one of the parts, this and the penny especially. I don't know where the fuck I put the penny at. But are two parts where I'm like, all right, this is ridiculous. Where it kind of reminds me of like, this is a movie. This is like larger than life kind of thing, because the MRI machine is magnetic. So it's attracting all these things. His wrist, his piercings on his face, his nipple rings, everything. Nipple rings getting ripped off, pretty brutal, I'm not gonna lie to you. But little did I know as an audience member that Eric has a Prince Albert. And I'm not talking about, the rest of that tag team with Test and Trish back in the early 2000s. I'm talking about a penis piercing, which is insane. So yeah, I think Eric's death was probably my favorite. He gets totally like obliterated and sucked into the MRI machine and just broken in half. Brutal way to go out. That shit was rough, but yeah, that was cool. Now, if I remember correctly, I think his brother finally gets the EpiPen because the whole plan was for him to like overdose, or not overdose, but have an allergic reaction to peanuts, and then get brought back to life with Eric stabbing him with the EpiPen, and kind of that's the way they kind of bring him back, and he would be cheating death. I believe he finally gets the EpiPen, he stabs himself, and then like the ring in the vending machine like launches out and just stabs him in the head, which is pretty nice. But yeah, guys, I don't want to keep these too long. Like I said in the other reviews, fantastic movie, fantastic deaths, and I do want to do my ranking. I was curious if I should do it in a separate video or this video. I think I'm just gonna do it in this one because I feel like it's a good way to like cap things off. So there's 6 movies. The first movie that I would rank the best, oh man, because honestly, it might be this one or part 3. Part 3 is like one where I'm like, this is fantastic. This is everything I wanted from this. Is this the best one so far? It's rated the best one so far, I think, on Rotten Tomatoes, which take that with a grain of salt. And do I think technically it's the best? Is there any, actually, I'll give it. I'll give Final Destination Bloodlines the best in the franchise so far. just because like there's no like what's his name, bro? Vinny Cheeks or whatever the fuck his name was in the other one. Like in Final Destination 3, I like that movie, but like you have characters like that, over the top, kind of like ridiculous characters, which this franchise is ridiculous in general. So I don't know if that's a fair criticism. But or I could do a tie, fuck it, which is kind of like a cop out, but I'd say 3 and 6 are at the top. Yeah. So it'd be, for me personally, it would be Final Destination 3 and Final Destination Bloodline. After that, it'll be Final Destination 5, Final Destination, the first movie, the 19 or 2000 movie, I think. Then after that, Final Destination 2 as the second last, and then the Final Destination coming in dead last. No pun intended. The worst of the franchise, terrible movie, not even worth a watch, not even worth anything. Like just useless, bro. But yeah, guys, that's kind of how I'd rank the franchise. 3 and this one are kind of interchangeable. I do enjoy this one because I think it's like, I don't know, it's like recency bias, but I think it was written better than the other movies in the franchise and acted better than the other movies in the franchise. But I know people love nostalgia and they kind of like gravitate to those first 3. But yeah, I'd say 3 and 6 are kind of like at the top of it. And I enjoyed 5 as well. I thought 5 was pretty cool with the chef and that whole thing. I thought it was like a very interesting story. Even though some of the CGI shit was kind of funny in that one as well. So take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for this week's movie review. Thank you so much for everyone who's been on the journey. Shout out to Eric, shout out to Miguel, shout out to Josh. Those have been the 3 like super consistent people watching these and super consistent people reaching out to me, you know, in real life and outside. It's kind of be like, when are you going to review it? When are you going to review it? So I had some life bullshit happen Monday and Tuesday. So, you know, I had some time today and I was like, you know, I've just got to knock this review out. So I appreciate you guys supporting, sharing the video and stuff like that. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Comment, subscribe your ranking in this video of what do you think is the best, your thoughts on this movie, and where do you think the franchise goes from here? Will we see a 7? I imagine so, just because I think this one made like 120 million already. And they always blow past their budget. So I imagine we will see another one. And like I said, it's such a good time. You have a date to go with. It's fun. You have like family. I saw it with Eric. It was him and his girl, and it was his girl's sister's birthday. And it was a whole group of people. I did not expect that many people to be with us, but we had like a whole row, and it was pretty cool. It's a pretty cool experience, like as a group, kind of, you know, a group thing to do. But yeah, guys, gonna do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.